are 16 million veterans in the United States. That makes up about 5% of the entire population. I am proud to be one of those members in that minority. Every year on Veterans Day, it's a day of gratitude for me. It makes me reflect on all my country, all our country has given to me, and the role that the other 95% of people out there in our country who are not veterans play in today. So I'm going to share with you some of my story and walk you through why I'm so appreciative of Veterans Day. Getting into that 5% club wasn't too much of a stretch for me. If you see this picture right here, this kid in a football helmet and a giant gun playing in these leaves, that's me. And I want you to remember this because this image is going to come up later. I wore an Airborne Ranger t-shirt every day to school in third grade. This was my standard attire. And it's majorly because of this guy that you see right here and over here in the Revolutionary War reenactment gear. This is Harry Reynolds. This is my father. He was a Special Forces Green Beret during Vietnam, and he was the guy that instilled the essence of service, of patriotism in my brother and myself, as well as the rest of our family. He was also the guy that thought it was a good idea to take a 5-year-old to go see the movie Platoon in theaters. And if you haven't seen Oliver Stone's Platoon, I can assure you that it's not appropriate for 5-year-olds. A decade later, fast forward a decade later, it's shortly after 9/11, and I met this guy right here. This is Staff Sergeant Gilbert. This is my recruiter. And he met me at a very fortuitous point of his career where he could find an easy recruit. I was the quintessential reason why some kids should not go to college right after high school. I was aimless. I was working as a shift manager in a restaurant. My major was undeclared, and the only thing that I wanted to do was study Mandarin Chinese, mostly because I had a crush on my Chinese teacher. I'm sitting there at the coffee shop one night, writing through my Chinese characters, and he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, the Army will teach you how to do that. They'll also teach you how to be a counterintelligence agent. You can basically be James Bond if you sign up." And I said to him, "You know what? Sign me up right now. Let's go do this." And here my journey begins. Turned out that Staff Sergeant Gilbert lied to me a little bit. I never learned Mandarin. I never became James Bond, but the Army did teach me a lot while I'm in. For instance, the Army taught me how you can take anything that should be fun and turn it into misery. Point number one, airborne school. Airborne school should be great. You get to take a gun, jump out of a plane with face paint on. It looks really cool in the movies. Turns out what it really is it's sitting with a parachute on your back and a giant harness cinched in on you for 8 hours in a hangar where you can't touch it, you can't go to the bathroom, and you finally shuffle onto a C-130 flying around for an hour with people throwing up all over each other. And the only thing that you want to do when that light turns green is get out of that plane as fast as you can. The Army also taught me the importance of sleep. I gained a superpower in the military. Turns out I can fall asleep within seconds on any kind of public transportation. I learned this in basic training going from ranges on buses. It also taught me how to not fall asleep. To this day, I can eat powdered coffee out of a can. I can put Tabasco sauce under my eyes. I can pinch slap myself and play games of spades for hours just to stay awake. When I first got deployed to Iraq, the Army taught me other things. They taught me how to find humor in the most dangerous situations. Every convoy, every mission that we did during my first deployment, I was always the lead driver in a Humvee column. And if you don't know what that is, that's a bunch of big trucks with guns on top of them cruising around the streets of Beiji and the Sunni Triangle in Iraq. And the game that I loved to play was tearing through these streets down little back alleys and finding the ones with sewage out there sitting on the streets so I could hit it as fast as you could go so I could spray the sewage up into my gunner in the turret and all the gunners behind me. And we thought this was hilarious. It also taught me how to embrace other cultures. If you look over here, I'm sharing some food at one of our meetings, and one day I got the honor of eating the eyeball out of the goat skull soup. And I, of course, got this because I was private first class, the youngest guy there. And I took it down and I spent the next 3 days in an aid station, most of the time inside a porta potty in 120-degree heat with the IV bag held outside of the potty with it nearly boiling and just trying to survive. And by the way, here's here's that gun that came back up from when I was 5 years old in the leaves. I didn't realize that until this speech. So, all this to say, being in the military, it's not without sacrifice. When I joined as a private first class, I was making the equivalent today of $1,000 a paycheck. When you factor in all the hours that you work, soldiers make about $8 an hour. You follow orders. Most of the time, you don't understand what those orders are about. And as you grow in your career, you give orders, which you don't always agree with. You sacrifice your body, sometimes your mind, sometimes more than that. And most of us trade some essence of our health to the service. You also give up your freedom. While you're in the military, you can't quit. You don't get to choose who you work with. You're told where to go, and you're committed to this for the term of your service. But the trade-off is pretty outstanding. This is my trade-off. Some of these pictures here. I gained a membership into the greatest fraternity that the world has ever made. I gained lifelong friendships. My wife, right here, she's also a Navy veteran. I met her through volunteering at Team Rubicon, and the child that we had is thanks to that relationship. I'll also give you a number. My number is 500,000. 500,000 is the amount of military veteran benefits that I would estimate I've received from this country after leaving my service. I don't get any disability. I don't get any retirement. But what I did get was I finished up a bachelor's degree. I got two master's degrees out of it. I had a child. Another one is on the way, fully paid through VA benefits. I get treatment for everything that's broken on my body from the service. And I've got three VA home loans that I've been able to leverage. That's a pretty outstanding trade-off for 5 years worth of service. So on this Veterans Day, today is a day of gratitude. And it's not only to honor the heroic acts of service of a few or the achievements of a unit, it's not just to celebrate the 5% of people that serve. And it's certainly not to go out and get a free baby back meal rib meal at Applebee's or somewhere else. It's about recognizing how well this country treats our veterans. And it takes more than the 5% of people out there to do that. It takes the 95% of people. It takes most of the people at this club honoring today and uplifting it. So on this Veterans Day, I'd like to thank the 95% of people out there that make this day special and truly make America the greatest nation to serve. Thank you.